Welcome to the special interest group about general Microsoft 365 development. Today, I'm your host. I'm Paolo Pialorsi from PSCs, and Visa is busy with another meeting, so I will take care of you for something like 1 hour now. Like always, quick look at the agenda. We will have a look at the latest news about the PnP initiative. Then we will spend a couple of minutes for the Together mode picture time. And right after, we will have 3 great demos from Chris Kent, Kevin McDonald, and Tommy Tavella. So let's move to the content so that we can save much more time for the demos. And first of all, let me remind you that you can and you are more than welcome to participate to the community initiatives and to the PnP community. You can do that by providing demo solutions and technical patterns, and by doing that, you will get great visibility for your work in the whole PnP community. You can contribute on GitHub, which is really welcome and useful, and you can provide feedback through any of the available channels that we have in PnP. And talking about the channels, where we have a lot of content available in PnP, starting from the Microsoft 365 developer videos, and talking about the community videos that we have in the PnP channel, as well as a whole set of open source projects and libraries, as well as the really rich set of samples that we have in the sample gallery. And moreover, there are a bunch of initiatives that you can take a look at if you will go to aka.ms/m365pnp, which is the main entry point for the PnP initiative. That said, most likely, most of you know that Microsoft recently introduced the Microsoft Viva, and Microsoft Viva, and specifically Viva Connection, is a set of extensions built on top of the Microsoft Teams ecosystem and on top of the Microsoft 365 ecosystem. From a developer point of view, because today here we are and we should be developers, from a developer point of view, we will soon be able to extend and customize a solution built on top of Microsoft Viva and Microsoft Viva Connection using Power Apps, SharePoint Framework, and the adaptive curve. And there will also be solutions and apps provided by third parties available on the network. So give an eye to Viva and specifically to Viva Connection. Go to aka.ms/Viva Connections and stay tuned about the news in the technology area of Microsoft 365. And talking about extensibility and development, for sure, Microsoft Teams is one of the main platforms that nowadays developers want to extend, or at least customers want the developers to extend. And well, in the aka.ms/teams samples URL, you can find a bunch of samples in the sample gallery, and there you will find a lot of useful content to take inspiration from or just to reuse for your own custom solutions. If you are new to PnP and to the open source community, well, for sure it is a great idea to attend any of the meetings of the Sharing is Caring initiative that we have in PnP. I think that Hugo and David are here, so if you want, Hugo or David, up to you, if you want to say something about the Sharing is Caring initiative, please open your mic and share your ideas with us.
Thanks, Paolo. Yep. Welcome, friends. Well, as you know, our Patterns and Practices community is an open source and inclusive community. But we also know if you're new, sometimes taking advantage of some of these tools and resources, and in fact, even contributing back to the community can come with a degree of hurdle. So we would like to provide you with this Sharing is Caring initiative that includes hands-on guidance sessions where we will walk you through how to not only use some of the tools and resources available within the community, but also how to contribute back. So it's something available for everyone. You can see all of the sessions that are coming up here soon, scheduled for March and into the future, and we have ongoing sessions. Next week, we're going to have our Ask Me Anything, which is going to feature the SPFX samples repository. Every month, there's a new AMA featuring a different initiative within PnP. So we ask you to please join us on a session completely free, open to everyone, a safe space to ask questions and get more involved. We'd love to see you at a future session, aka.ms/sharing is caring. Paolo, back to you.
Thank you, David, and great initiative, the Sharing is Caring one. So let's keep on talking about the latest news about the PnP initiatives and community projects. For sure, the .NET libraries built and provided by the PnP community are one of the main topics in this area. And so please, Bert, share with us the latest news about PnP Framework and PnP Core SDK.
Yes, thank you, Paolo. For PnP Framework, which for folks new to this call is the old PnP site core library. So for that one, we are prepping for 1.3. Key changes already done is for page transformation. You can now skip hidden web parts when you transform pages. We have some fixes for the web plugin approach when you use cookies. And several other fixes done by Gautam, Christian, Patrick, Koen, and Erwin, and myself. So 1.3 should be coming quite early next week, maybe even this week still. So stay waiting for that one. Then on the PnP Core SDK side, so PnP Core SDK is the new library, brand new modern.NET library. We promised to actually GA it in February. We didn't do that because we did like a huge refactoring and an improvement, which is for the good. So it really got better. But now we're kind of finalizing that refactoring and getting all the smaller issues wrinkled out and getting it really nice and ready for you. So GA for that one, most likely next week as well, targeting for next week. In the last 2 weeks, what we did some page API improvements, sample improvements, the refactoring as mentioned, and other fixes. And by the way, we actually have in February we had 88,000 tenants using these libraries. So we're getting close to 100,000 tenants using these .NET libraries. So pretty impressive, I would say.
Thank you, Bert. And yes, I'm crossing my fingers, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the GAA version of PnP Core SDK. Let's see, maybe next week, or we'll see. Then we need to talk about PnP PowerShell, and I think we have my friend Erwin, who will share with us the latest news about PnP PowerShell. Right, Erwin?
Yep. So 1.3 came out actually already 2 weeks ago. 1.4 is around the corner. Will it happen tomorrow? I don't know. We'll plan to do it this week, but we found some last-minute issues, so still working on that. People are downloading it like crazy. Over 100,000 downloads of the new module already, and that's just basically in a couple of months. So that's really nice. We're still ongoing working on the integration with the PnP Core SDK. The PnP PowerShell, as of today, is already the core SDK behind the scenes, but in a limited manner. So we only use those things that we know that are safe and work as we want them to work. Then what's happening in the nightlies? So as you might be aware, we release basically every day a change is done to the PowerShell commandlets. We build an automatic release every night, and we put that on the PowerShell gallery. So we increase the functionality of the register PnP Azure AD app commandlets you can use to register an Azure AD app. The name says it already. Now we have support for all the graph permissions and all the SharePoint permissions. So both for app only and delegates, they're all there. We split it up in separate parameters. It makes it much easier actually to define what kind of rights your Azure AD app should have. We have also a couple of companion commandlets now to do some management on those apps. So you guys show me all the apps, remove the app, those kind of things. Something I'm really happy with, and there was a bit of a struggle to get up and running, but we finally have support for GCC environments. Now, not that many of you work with it or even know what they are, but they are US government environments, Azure installations, Azure environments. But this change does not only apply to the US versions, it also applies to other national cloud instances. So there is one in Germany, for instance. And then, yeah, the Azure app site permission command is what I mentioned them the last time already. We now have support for site selected, graph scope, and bug fixes.
Thank you, Erwin.
Yep.
So now time to talk about the modernization tooling. There are some news in that area as well. So Bert, back to you.
Yes, so we usually don't talk about this anymore, but I wanted to kind of add it again on the list for today because there are some changes. So first of all, page transformation, which is technology that takes a classic page and builds a modern page out of it. We crossed 1.5 million pages being transformed, which is massive, and it gets faster and faster. So there's more and more people doing this, and also more and more on-prem transformation. So we see people taking their on-premises SharePoint 2010, 2013 portals and moving those pages into SharePoint Online as in the communication side. So really a good scenario for folks to modernize their content and move to online. Now, as already mentioned, we have a new option to skip hidden web parts when you transform. And one thing there to mention is that page transformation is part of PnP Framework now. So if you didn't know that yet, so you can just, if you pull down PnP Framework, you have the page transformation tag on board as well. For the Modernization Scanner, there is version 2.19 released, and that one actually contains a new scanner component that will list all the SharePoint Designer customized forms. So I think that sums it up, Paolo.
Okay, thank you, Bert. It's now time to talk about one of my favorite tools nowadays, the OTeams. So Victor, please let us know what are the latest news.
Thanks, Paolo. Yes, I think we have some great updates. 2 weeks ago, we announced the release of version 3. We had 3 patches since then, smaller fixes of various things on the roadmap right now. And this was actually updated before Paolo came up with some great ideas this morning. So we're looking into meeting extensions and a couple of other things that we have listed in the GitHub issues repo as feature requests. And as I said, Paolo had a couple of new ones in there. So looking good for the future of the Teams generator. For the core tasks, OTeams build core, as you can see in the slide this week, we updated it to separate out the actual generator, the build tasks, and the UX components. And for the build tasks, we released a new preview yesterday that supports building for multiple manifests. That is not the typical scenario when you're just building or doing a test, etc. But when you actually go into real world deployments and you might need to have different kind of packages for your test environment, staging environment, the production environment, your different developers, etc., or for multiple tenants, or using multiple app ID URIs for your SSO tabs and bots, etc. You can now at the time of build, you can generate multiple manifests for those different environments, and that's a great way. And then I use it all the time with my teams. So it's an easy way for you instead of manually having to modify your package manifest all the time. We also have the React UI helpers that helps you scaffold out or generate the React interface using React hooks. We are looking into right now how we can improve the performance a little bit on those based on some feedback. So that's the state of the art. As you can see, it's fairly consistent right now with number of Teams apps scaffolded, but it's about 1,300 new Teams apps every month being generated. So that's great to see. Thanks.
Thank you, Victor. Great tool. And let me say that I really love the support for React hooks, which is now native in version 3.x. So thank you. Thank you very much. Now, time to talk about the Graph Toolkit. So Beth, take it away.
So for the recent updates, we fixed some bugs, added some features to the MSI provider. For those of you who doesn't know what Graph Toolkit is, it's a component library that help you build applications that's powered by the graph super fast. We do have a new components coming up. It is the OneDrive file picker component that comes with both file component and file list component. This is in free preview. If you want to test that out and give us feedback on how we should represent the OneDrive files in your UI and what are the properties and endpoints that you want to support for this component, let us know, and you can install them at Microsoft/mgt@next.file-picker. I know that there's also a demo today at the end of the call from Tommy that we will be talking about the MGT React Playground. So really looking forward to that. And we also updated some samples and blocks in our wiki page on our aka.ms/mgt site.
Perfect. Thank you, Beth. So it's now time for the together mode picture. So if you like, turn on your camera, and it's now time to smile, wave, and make some fun using the together mode. So let me start first of all the together mode, and let me share it with all of you. Okay, you should be able to see it. So here we are. You can smile for the picture first of all, and then we can eventually wave and do crazy stuff. So wonderful. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for this small amount of time that you share with the community and to share your face and your yourself with everyone else. Thank you so much. So it's now time to move to the demos. And first of all, we have Chris Kent from DMI who will talk with us about Microsoft List Magic. So Chris, feel free to take the stage.
All right, let me share this here screen and then we'll get going on some exciting stuff. All right, everybody, I'm Chris. Let's talk about some list formatting stuff, right? So the first thing I want to do is kind of talk about formatting in general, right? So when we say list formatting, we mean column formatting, we mean view formatting, and we even mean some form customization, right? So we can do some things where we can make columns conditionally show or hide, use the same kind of expression syntax. We can add a header and a footer. So we have lots and lots of things we can do. And in fact, there's even multiple types of view formats. So it can be easy to get kind of lost in a sea of this. And there are some things we can do to improve it as we get through that confusion. So let's take a look at what formatting is first. So I've got an exciting screenshot of, a pretty basic list on things with my Warrior Horses site. And here you can see there's a column format everywhere. Let's take a look at what makes that up. All right, so the first thing we've got is a surface. So whether that's your list view, you're inside Microsoft Lists, you've got it in the list web part, etc. That's here. So then on top of that, we've got things like kind of a standard UI. So in general, this is going to be your headers. If you've got groups, it's going to be various groups in here or aggregate, all of these pieces here. And then you have your actual data, right? So these are the list items coming back row by row. And there's some pretty standard ways these get formatted, right? So we've got a multi-person select field. Here you can see kind of the out-of-the-box, put each name on its individual line, and so on, right? So we've got this as a number column, but it's formatted as a %. So SharePoint gives us a lot kind of out of the box, or Microsoft Lists, right? So then if we want to take that a little further, we can start to apply things called column formats, right? So each one of these columns, you can apply this to the individual list field, or you can apply it at the site column level so that wherever that column shows up, it has this fancy format. And what that does is it gets applied to every item as each row is rendered, right? So as each one happens, your format's evaluated and applied, and it's a nice kind of overlay while still giving you that same surface and giving you the standard UI so you can do your filtering and your sorting and everything else. And as you can see here, I've put a column format on every single column, but you can certainly mix those with kind of the standard and column formats and so on. Okay. Now, the next layer on top of that is view formats. Now, there's one that plays nicely with all of this, and it's kind of a simple one, and that's called the row class. So when you apply a view format, you can apply what's called an additional row class. And here you just provide an expression, and you say, whatever my expression is, apply a class. Right, so we could say every row that has assigned to equals to me, make it purple in this case, right? So then now the nice thing with these row classes is, again, you get your standard UI, you get all of your data flowing through, and whether that's got a column format or not, it's just kind of sit over on top of that. So all of this kind of combines together to create some pretty cool layers and give you a lot of options. Now you can actually go even further than that. Woo! And that's where you're going to control this entire rendering space. And that's a view format. So now this type of view format, unlike the row class, will override everything, right? So this is going to override all of your column formats. It's going to override any row classes you want, and you're going to control the entire rendering here. Now you can do cool things here because this is applied at the view itself. The views themselves can have multiple displays. So you can have a gallery style view where you can have both a view format here and what we call tile props internally. It's called gallery when you go into the little view menu. And you can apply formats there, which is really cool. And even if you want to, so we still got the standard UI here, we can go even further and override that standard UI with our own. Right, so now we're doing some fancy things to kind of detect the first item, and we're building our own kind of column, so we can remove that entirely. So you can see lots of customization options here, and you can really layer your views. And the nice thing is these are going to show up on all of these surfaces. So, and it's going to look the same whether it's in Microsoft Lists, inside the app, or it's in a web part. I'm going to say most of the time, 99% of the time, it's going to look exactly the same, and that's really, really powerful. You can do a lot with that. But there are a couple of issues here. So you can see here, like in this format, I've taken title, right? Now I've actually written out the title, and then I've taken the field values from the title column, and I've shown them here. And what happens is, what if someone comes along with like title? That's not really, that doesn't really apply here. Let's call that like, I don't know, standard ID or whatever it is, right? They rename the title column. Shock! Why would they do this, right? And all they've done is they've changed the display name. Nothing about your format breaks, except now it says title, whereas in every other view of this, it doesn't say title, right? And so that can be a little confusing. So when someone changes the display name, you've got to go and update all of your view formats where you've overridden that. And that can be a real pain. This is especially true in a gallery view where you're definitely not going to have this kind of standard UI, and you're oftentimes kind of putting those labels out there. Or what if you've got another problem, right? So I had this really cool column format. If we go back, right, and it's took all these faces, and it put them in nice little circles and kind of took care of understanding there was more than 3 here that could display. So this is called the face file, and that's cool. What if I want that to show up in, say, here, right? I want it to show up here. Well, traditionally, I've got to go and copy that whole format, and then I've got to nest it inside here. And that works, and we've got a few formats that do that. But what if you've got, pretty complex logic? Say you're showing an icon based on status that also has to look at the completion field, right? So it's got various colors, and it has icons, and it's all pretty complex. And now someone says, you've copied that in multiple view formats, and now someone says, yeah, we actually want to use, icon XYZ instead of icon YZX, right? So now you've got to go and you've got to fix that everywhere, and it's very easy to make those mistakes or if they change those colors. And so you get into this kind of layering issue, right? So let's take a look at how we can solve that a little bit. So let's head over to our exciting Warrior Horses list site, and we're going to go to that same list, and it's almost like I just screenshotted this thing. So I'm just going to take this. So this is a standard list, no formats at all are applied, right? So we've got that kind of out-of-the-box rendering, and very quickly, I'm going to show you how to apply some formats. All of these are samples that are available. So you go to column settings, format this column. All right, you get some options here. I'm going to go to advanced mode, and I'm just going to paste ones I've got in another window. All right, so now I've got checkboxes. And let's grab a couple others of these. We won't do them all. And we'll go to title. All right, and we'll go to advanced mode. And here we're crossing things out if they're marked as complete. And then we've got a progress field, and percentage is okay, but we want to show that we can do that kind of data bars. In this case, I'm actually going to show these data bars. Ooh, pretty yellow. And let's just grab one more just for fun, because this is a complex one. That's that one we mentioned, which is called the face pile. Again, all of these are samples that are available to you for free, which is cut and paste like I'm doing. So, oh, I didn't hit save on the other one, did I? My yellow. Someone says yellow. I swear I turned off notifications, but I guess I lied. So by swearing, I don't know what I've done now. Okay, let's preview that. Let's save it. Okay, so here's the idea, right? So now we've got column formats. That's really cool. All right, if I come here and I create a new view, and we'll just call it magical, right? Doesn't matter. And we create that. And you can see, I've got other columns that are a part of that. So I've got other formats. Those all kind of show up here. And that's great, right? So let me go back to my all items, and that all works. Now, if I want to apply one of those row class formats we talked about, and I would come in here and I would go to format current view. I'm going to go to advanced, right, just so I can paste one in here. And in this case, let's grab one of these, as soon as I remember which one it is in my little list over here. And this one, again, this is also a sample. All of these are samples that are available. This is a little weird. Well, if you look right here, it's just looking inside this assign to column and saying, hey, if it includes me, then, make it, I think it's going to be red or yellow. Yellow, right, and red on hover. So the idea here is this beautiful? No. In fact, I would really question whether or not it's a good idea to combine yellow and yellow here. But the whole point is that I'm able to apply a view format, custom logic, and samples are available. It's in a GitHub repo, but you don't have to do any kind of fancy coding. You just cut and paste. Okay. So the idea here, right, is now I've got all of these layered, and that's really cool, but this applies to a specific view. So if I close that and I go back to the new view we created, magical, right, I don't have that anymore, but I could do things like format this view, and I could set up my, my own thing right here. So in this case, I'm just going to grab some really exciting format, just to show what we can do. So we're overriding the whole thing. So instead of a row class, now we're doing a row formatter. And in this case, we're just putting a div, and this is a title, and then the actual value of the title. So if we preview that, wow, what an exciting format. We have many more complicated samples and everything else for that. which I encourage you to look at. But what I want to point out here is what we can do. So just going to keep it simple, is instead of saying title with a colon, right? We mentioned this idea of what if someone comes in here and they, let's save that. They come in here and they say column settings, and they go to, you know, what is it? Rename, right? And they're going to call this, you know, my special column, right? And they name it that. Oh no, now we got to go back and we got to update the format here. If we updated, you know, we use title anywhere else, and we got to actually search inside this JSON that we just cut and paste from GitHub. We didn't think we were going to have to actually touch this stuff. Well, the good news is we can do fancy things, like instead of referencing title, we can say exclamation points of a $, grab that internal name of the column, dot display. So this is called field metadata. All right, let me close that. Let's preview that. Bam! So now, by using, instead of a $, like we normally do to reference internal columns, right, we're referencing the field metadata. Now, right now, the only property available in the field metadata is this display name, and it is case sensitive. So this is really, really cool, right? So if I hit save on that, and I come in here and someone says, I'm going to rename that again, right? And they're going to name it, you know, Horsies. Is that how you spell horses? Sure you do. All right, they name it Horsies. Bam, our format takes care of that, which is awesome. So the nice thing with that is now these formats can apply all over the place, right? So I don't need to know anything about this list other than it has a title column, and I don't care what you call your title column. We can now put this same thing everywhere. But what about, I had some cool stuff, right? I had some displays, right? In this case, I had this kind of crossed out look. So well, how do we get that everywhere? Well, good news. I wouldn't have told you all this if there wasn't a way to do that as well. So in this case, we're going to remove everything out of this element. Instead of showing the title value, now we're going to say column formatter reference. Ooh, very catchy, right? In this case, we're going to use those brackets with a $, and we're going to just reference whatever. So in this case, we're going to say title, right? So we want however the format would be applied to the title field, put it inside my view format. Preview. Maybe I didn't do that right. Let me look at that again. Let's not do title. Let's do assigned to. How's that? Assigned to. All right, so we'll preview that. Boom. So we'll just do that. So look at this. Instead of taking that whole format and sticking inside our view format and bloating it there and having copied and paste code everywhere that we got to go update, I can now just simply say, hey, for this element, the whole thing needs to be just whatever that column format would be normally. Now, there's some caveats, right? You can't do some inheritance and some other stuff, but this is huge. So this takes away all of the kind of maintenance and stuff between all of these layers and makes it much easier to kind of open up holes. So if we jump back to our, right here. So the idea is here, we're actually opening up holes inside our format. So instead of this, we cut a hole and we just bring in whatever that format is for the column, right? Whether it's the site column, you've got your complex logic on, like, say, a due date that's looking at other fields, and you don't want to put all of that in there. Well, you could just sub that out to the column format. That way it's consistent between all of your views, whether you've applied a view format or not, or you've got a gallery or not. You've got the same display by using that column format or reference. And in the same regard, if you want to show certain field names, you can use that display name. So huge, huge, huge. It's exciting. So here's that column formatter reference. Again, you give the internal column name, and you're going to use that $. So this is exactly how we reference the value normally, right? A square bracket, $, another square bracket, internal name right here. But instead, all you do is put it inside your little squiggly braces, column formatter reference with that. And bam, it works. Now you can technically use this in your column formats as well. I'm not sure exactly why you would, but I'm sure there are reasons, right, if you wanted to wrap all that up. So, and then next thing is that field metadata. Right now, it's just that display name. Thing that might trip you up is that the period goes inside the square brackets and the exclamation point right there instead of a $. But these are hugely powerful for making your formats, which can get out of hand a little bit. It's easy to get a little complicated there. But keep them all consistent between them while giving you that flexibility to really provide that kind of wrapper and outer surface. All right, that's it for me. All right, go ahead and check out our full documentation here. Someone asked about those samples. It's just like this, but instead it's PnP instead of SharePoint. Got to update that. I'm sure David's pasted the correct link. And that's all I got. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Chris. Like always, a great demo. And it's now time for another great demo by Kevin McDowell from CPS about exporting SharePoint site structures and documentation to Markdown. So Kevin, feel free to steal the presentation, and I will let you know when we will see your screen.
Thank you very much. Always lovely to follow Chris Kent as a demo. What I'm going to talk about today is a little challenge I had from a client. So just imagine a little bit, you've got a new project and the aim is you're going to create a set of SharePoint sites for a client, and there's going to be all sorts of lists backed up with site columns, content types, all those good things you've got in SharePoint. Unfortunately, you're probably thinking now, great, PnP PowerShell, export all that, can fire it up to the client's environment nice and easily, but this client you're working with doesn't allow PowerShell in the environment. Yep, that was a fun thing to find out in the early stages of stuff. So we had to get all these sites created, our dev tenant, and then try and find a way to move those across. So you've got your build out of your SharePoint, no PowerShell, all has to be manual. So anything you create, you've got to recreate from scratch. Plus, they wanted these kind of to be templated sites that they could use for lots of different departments. So we had to give them a set of instructions so that power users could then go and recreate stuff. And yes, you can go thing. I don't know about you. I hate doing documentation. I hate when you have a list of columns, you've got to type them all out. And every time you need to make a change, you've got to go back and say, right, I've changed it in this site. Have we changed it there? Have we changed it there? I just don't like doing it. It's why I love the PnP provisioning stuff, because you can just recreate that. So I started to think about how could we actually script up the creation of that. Came up with a few options. Think about we could pull the stuff out from CSOM, use PnP PowerShell. You know, you've got the XML. We could just give them the XML and write stuff from that, but they're not going to like that. We could put it out to CSV. Start to think about you could put it in text files or even Word documents, but gradually bottomed out to think about using PnP PowerShell and Markdown. I did actually start scripting my own thing as a console app with the CSOM side, but I was like, this is nuts. This could be something useful for other people. And I could go and spin up a nice new GitHub project, or because PnP PowerShell is open source and there was all sorts of good things going on there, I could put in a pull request to that. And that felt like a much better way to go. So I went ahead, and I have to admit I hadn't kept up fully with what was happening with all the core implementations and looking at that. At the time, I think it was around November, December time. So it was the early previews of the PnP framework, and I've been chatting to Paul Bullock, so I was having a look at some of the PnP core stuff. What's great now is you're seeing the very latest. There are green ticks all over the place, so you can see all the details from this. I can see someone saying, I thought you couldn't use PnP PowerShell. So we were creating all the sites in our environment and then exporting, taking that out from there and putting into their environment afterwards. So we could build it out all locally, do all the development using PnP, using PowerShell, but then to actually apply them back into their environment, we had to do things manually. So after a bit of going through the code and working out what could take place, I realized that we could do stuff with the PnP provisioning, and where that bit of being output to XML or you can output it as a .pnp file. I thought, actually, if we could export all the definition as Markdown files, then actually we could point the same PnP provisioning and get out an output. So I mocked up in Word a little bit of a breakdown of what we needed. And let me flip over to some definition. Here you can see a breakdown of site that I put together, so you can see you get all sorts of stuff as Markdown, but those of you who love Markdown are reading that nicely. If you're using VS Code, you've got the preview templates. You can actually look at things there. You can see we get the name of the template, and if you put a nice template ID in there, you'll get that as an output. You can see we list out the groups that have been associated in there, the administrators, a few details on the navigation. I start off with a list of site columns, so a definition in the table. Then for each of those site columns, very easy to read views of that. And the intention was that you could get all these things. You could go down column by column, and it's following the same as you get from the UI, that you can actually see what's going on. So you can hand this doc. They can create that demo comments column. They know its type. We've put in there the internal name because we knew we wanted to have it, people when they create it and then save it differently. Oops, I shouldn't have double clicked there. So we've put internal name, display name and details, but then all the others, we've tried to keep the formatting the same as you'd see from the UI. And so you can see we've got a list of columns, any content types I've created, it lists which columns are there for the content types, and it exports the list, the details that come out. It's got the list of each of those that exist on there, list when we look at, for example, the demos one, it's got the description, whether it's on quick launch, etc., etc. So it really is helped there. And being like this, I can do Control A. Oh, my word's closed, but the intention is you can do Control A, copy this, paste it into Word, apply your formatting, then you've got a nice formatted document that you can hand over clients at the end of it. Because this is the PnP call, I am going to go into a little bit of the code just to, if anyone else wants to expand on this or take some of the areas. But you've got three key parts of this. You're looking at the providers within that. There then is a formatter that does that conversion into the type. So whether it's XML, Markdown, JSON within there. And then there's the writers. So the writers will take up each of the individual bits that write up the components, such as the content types and areas, different areas like that. So you can see it's a little bit messy. The first time I looked at it, I probably went, yeah, was the word I'd use on there. But once you dig into it, it's not too bad. So if you start on the formatter, you can see that there is a to provisioning template. Oh, it's not that one. Sorry, it's the to formatted template, and it brings up a set of writers. And these different writers, when you expand and look on there on the Markdown, there's one for each of the different types. So whether it's the base properties, content types, features, list instances. And if we go into lists of those, I'm just using system.io, I'm writing out lines. So it's just literally writing out the Markdown line by line with a different format, looping through, for example, in this case, the set of lists, and just writing out the details one by one. Where you've got groups such as the content type bindings, then it's adding a for loop for each binding, and sometimes we're writing into sub-formatters within there. But it's once you get into the flow of things, it's quite easy to add the different details and things onto there. So if you do want to use it, there is, oops, need to go on to the other one. If you do want to use it, it's just using the get PnP site template. So if you haven't used the new core version, slight change of format from the PnP provisioning now, and it's got an example on there, get PnP site template, and you just do output to template.md. So if I bring up, you can see I've created the one there. Let's create template 2. It does exactly the same as if you were exporting it out to an XML file, but instead of the XML file, you get the Markdown file that you can go and use bits from. And because it's the same, you can pass handlers to that. So if you just want to get a list of site columns, if you want to put some filters in there, then you can put your different filters and just bring back particular lists or other items you want in there. All the capabilities you can get from extracting PnP site templates, you can get with this Markdown, the same format with the Markdown as well, because it's all using the same mechanism. Now, what's next? I think it's the answer. I haven't put all the handlers in there, so things like pages, I haven't catered for those. I think there's some other bits. I'm trying to remember the other one I haven't done on there. Haven't done every single element, and even within things like the site columns, some of the specific scenarios it doesn't necessarily cater for at the moment. Would like to fill that out. I'd like to put a bit more ability to add a simple filter, so get it to filter out all the default content types and all the default list templates and things like that. So if you just wanted to extract out what's new to things, then it would be easy to do that. Most importantly, I'd love you all to give it a try and let me know what else you would like to see. What would be useful? How would you like different formatting? How is it used? Are there different scenarios that you could see from it? So please get your hands dirty with it and let me know what you think. Also, I'd encourage you all get involved in PnP PowerShell and all the PnP core work. I'm certainly planning later this year, once this horrendous project my mum's working on and we can get the kids back to school and get it back to normality of getting more hands-on with all the PnP core stuff. But please do. There's so many welcoming people there who can come and help you through it. So yeah, get involved. Back to you, Paolo.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Great work. Now time for Tommy Tavella. So feel free to share your screen. Tommy will show us the latest news about the SP Editor Chrome extension.
All right. Okay. Here is my 2 slides. I'm going to do a demo, but I will just give a small introduction about SP Editor overall. But my main topic today will be this new feature called MGT React Playground. So about me, my name is Tommy Tavella. I'm Microsoft MVP. Been 1 year and 1 day now. I want to say shout out to Erwin for the nomination a year ago. So still here, hanging well. And I've been developing solutions, mainly intranets to SharePoint since 2007. And half a year ago, I switched to another side, a little bit different perspective to work with M365. I'm doing solutions from the mobile app perspective, and I work in R&D Works. And also here I have listed some links. So SP Editor comes in 2 flavors. It's a Chrome and Edge extension. So this is the place where you can install this extension for each browser. And also there is this my Twitter account with some hashtags to follow to get the latest updates. And also the GitHub repositories of the both extensions. Yeah, let's go. Demo time is the best time always. So first I will tell you, this is where it looks, where you install the things. I would like to get some thumbs up from people if you haven't ever used SP Editor, or you don't know even what is SP Editor. The problem is I don't even see the thumbs because I'm sharing. But anyways, let's go. So you go to this URL which I just shared, and you install it to your browser. And to use it, you will have to press F12 or a shortcut option Command E if you're using Mac, and you will open this developer tools, and there will be a SharePoint tab you to click. So when you select that, you will be inside SP Editor. I added some warnings here because this is a very powerful tool. So you're actually using the APIs and you can do a lot of things. So this is like warning, but a little bit with a funny way of written warning. The main thing I'm here today is to talk about this MGT Graph Playground. I will let it wait a bit. I will just show you a little bit what else this thing can do. So before SharePoint got all modernized, we used to use these script links to attach JavaScript to the pages and build your own customizations. So this tool was very handy for that. Of course, you can use PowerShell or any other CLI tool, but to make these things fast, I created this kind of a tool that you just add the URL, the sequence, the scope, and you just press, and the script link will be there. Or you can remove them or even refresh the cache if the link is not working, okay? So, but this is classic stuff, so you don't need to really pay so much attention of this. Then there is the PnP JS console. Here, this is probably the fastest way of learning or just running fast PnP JS scripts in your site. So we really get the whole IntelliSense here. I can also add here everything so we can really see what it does. So the IntelliSense works very well. So if I now here click Control D, this block will be executed and it's printing here website home, okay, or web title. But I can also do the same thing. I can ask lists and like this. Let's move here like lists and let's print it out here. And we click Control D and we should have all the lists in this current site listed here. So this is handy for running some scripts or to learn PnP JS. Okay, to go forward. This is also quite new thing. This is same kind of tool to run scripts, but this is now against Microsoft Graph. It's using the Microsoft Graph client. Of course, because you are using the graph, normally you need to create a MSAL connection to the endpoint. So it's quite long, this session, what you have to do here, but you have the possibility to specify the scopes and the authentication things how you want. But then you can also put the endpoints here. So now this is like basic stuff. I just press Ctrl D. It will authenticate and it will print here the details. So now I can also easily like add here my mail, press Ctrl D. So here we get the mail also. Or I can like select everything and I can put here like show me the messages. So this will take, okay, it was quite fast. So now I get everything here. And there is the Graph Explorer, which is also nice. But if you want to a little bit write code, this is one tool to do that. Then I will still skip the playground web properties. Some use cases there are that you are saving some data to web properties. So in this case, it's normally you would use PowerShell or CLI, but we can do here like a property here or something like and value here. So we can add with this tool very easily new properties here. Or we can even search properties, like what is there, like correlation. So we get some properties we can analyze what's in the property bags. And then we can delete this because we don't use it. And then the same thing goes for list properties. You select your list. Let's see, and then you can add list properties. And you can also make these properties indexed, that you get the possibility to find them using the search. So there is this index button here, okay? And then this is also quite new thing. This is SP Shooter. So this helps you if you want to study different REST endpoints of SharePoint. You just write it here and you press enter, you will get everything here. You can specify the headers or body. If I put here like verbose and shoot, we can see that I get the maximum amount of headers here. Or then I can just remove it back and I can check here like lists. So I get all the lists here. Okay. So, and yeah, you can select the method, post, put, or whatever from there. And also there is the webhooks. This is something that is supported in SharePoint lists. So you can call your endpoint if something happens in the list. So this is one place to quickly create those. I can show you how it happens. So let's delete this webhook, and then let's create a new one. You select the list. Let's say about the cat list. The kissa means cat in Finnish. Then you put your endpoint. This is not necessary, but here we go. And then you just add it. So now, anytime something happens in this list, this endpoint will be called with the payload of the list and some other information of the tenant. Okay, now to the beef. I still have some time to show MGT React Playground. I like I like long names, but yeah, I saw the release of MGT React components and MGT Toolkit, and I was really amazed. It was a really interesting project. Normally, when I want to learn something new, there has to be a project. But of course, I didn't have any work-related project, but luckily I have this SP editor. So it's always then very nice to to decide, okay, I want to do something with this, so I will add a feature of this in the SP editor. So this is where we are now, and I'm really, really excited about this. So we have now imported this logging component in this editor and just added it here, and we get this very nice component here rendered. We can sign out and we can sign in. It's all the authentication is configured here. You can use your own client ID also. You just need to create it in your own tenant and also add this Chrome extension reply URL to it, and that will be okay. But the good thing here is also that it works like you just save and you can see the changes immediately. Okay. So let's take another sample. I also added a lot of samples here. So that was the logging component, but you can also create, you can override every UI in the logging component. So in this case, we can see that I have overridden all of this, and the component looks a bit different, as you can see. So if I remove everything from here, press Ctrl D, we are back in the normal state. Okay, I put them back. We are in the custom mode. Here I can say like, click me to okay, I save it and let's go and check it out. Click me, get me out of here or whatever. Okay, so you don't need to bundle everything to get started with MGT components. You can just open SP editor and start playing with it. And when I was doing this, I added every component that the toolkit supports, and also about this MSI configuration. You can also create your own configuration when you export the client application straight from the MSI. And when you are using this, you cannot really use whatever node module is. You can just use this Microsoft MGT components and MSI. So you don't go here or try Lodash or anything like that. It will not work. Then there is the events. We can, let's see what happens if I sign out from here. I can see it, okay, all these things happened because I added here that in login event, we always log it to the main point, to the window. So now when I sign in, we will get all the events here. So basically then you could do another rendering stuff here if necessary or you want. Then we got the me. This is the get component. This is very interesting. Now it's listing all my information here, but I can also change it. I can put here like this. Yes, I guess. Is it? Oh no. Messages. Let's see. Yeah. So now we get all the messages from the tenant. And here again, there is a template. I'm reading the values. I can create or render whatever formatting here I want. And I can just test it here before I push it back to my real SPFX project or wherever you want to run these components. There is the person component. Well, that's just nothing really. But then people component, I think this was cool. If I press here, yeah. So you can get a lot of information from there. And you can just analyze and play with this. Oh, this is my favorite because here you get a lot of information. So you can just check this out and practice them, learn them, even debug them and create open issues, or if you find something is lacking, you can always create issues for the repositories and so on to make this MGT even stronger. What else? So, well, go here, check this out. There is even Teams channel. Picker, I really love this. when I built this tool, I even did it. I'm not even mastering the MGTs yet, so I'm using this just to learn it by myself. It's really a powerful Todo list, and it's all here. Check it out. I will delete that. Yeah, I can add new task if I want. Hello PnP. Let's add it. It's there and it's done. Yes, cool. It just all works. And yeah, then there is also this kind of class component sample. So you can, this is not even related to the MGT. This is just a React class component. So if you want to learn or test React thingies, you can also do it here. That's it.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tommy. Really an amazing tool and a really great demo. Thank you so much. Let me steal the presentation. Thank you. Thank you so much to you, to Chris and Kevin for great demos. And so we are now almost eating the hour. So I think we don't have time enough for Q&A. We have just one more minute, but I want to remind you that there will be on the 18th of March, 7 a.m. Pacific time, the Microsoft 365 General Dev call. And on March the 11th, 7 a.m. Pacific time, there will be the next SharePoint framework call. The recording of this video will be out within the next 24 hours in our PnP YouTube channel, so akms/m365pnp-videos. And remember, if you don't do that already, to follow us on Twitter and are at Microsoft 365 Dev and at Microsoft 365 PnP. So here is a list of useful links. And thank you again for attending this special interest group call, and hope to see you soon in one of the upcoming meetings. Thank you again.